5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Oh, I got a heck of a mailer in the mail yesterday. Look at this. This is all that came. No letter, no nothing. You want to end the mask mandate? Just wear this around. Now, if you don't like the printing on this, it's okay. There's an option, an opt-in, built right into the item. You can wear it like this, so we know the good guys from the bad guys. I won't explore that any further. But what a great mailer! I didn't even send him any money as far as I know, which is a big mistake. Probably, one of the things that Brad Parscale did was sort of like force people to spend a little money to see what they really believed. So I don't believe this is particularly effective as a mask because it seems like it blows all over the place. But man, oh man, what a mailer. You ever think of doing this as a mailer? No. Direct mail is awesome. And we're going to be talking about how mail ain't dead tomorrow afternoon. But before we do, we're going to talk about 4 data trends, okay? Here is the annual size of the data, the global data sphere. We're now at 175 zettabytes. And now they're going to come up with yottabytes, I think they're called. Yottabytes are the next thing for 1 trillion zettabytes. So this is 175 with 21 zeros at it after it. Okay, 175 trillion gigabytes. Woohoo! Of course, most of it's Twitch and TikTok videos. Never mind that. That's the best part about the whole thing. But data is growing. In the article, it says that in 1980, IBM invented the first gigabyte drive. 1 gig, it was 500 pounds. I remember in 1994 or 95 when we got our first 1 gig drive, and we were like over the moon, so excited. And we were building Hudson Bay Corporation's first marketing database, and we had these 1 gig drives paper clipped to the outside of the number 5 Pentium that NCR produced with the Intel Pentium chip. We blew 5 motherboards, and then my IT guy, Ted, explained to NCR the flaw in their motherboard design, which they fixed. They replaced them all anyway. They ended up getting the Hudson Bay account, but we put 250 million transactions into that baby. What an adventure. Oh my goodness. It was terrible. Anyway, so tomorrow we're going to be doing a webinar about data, about making money with data, and about mail, and how mail is one of the crucial pieces that everybody's missing in that equation. If you got the sold out banner, Saturday, we hit 100 registrations. I never dreamed we'd get 100. This thing is just taken off. But we got 100, and then it just sat there. And I thought, what's wrong? Yesterday afternoon, I get an email. John, I know it's sold out, but can I get in? Can you find a spot for me? Turned out, we'd never gotten 30 at a webinar, and I don't mean, you shouldn't put down your own webinars, but that's the way it is. And so I just picked a number, 100. Oh, we'll never hit that. And whoopee! So now it's going way past it, and we have a new setup so that you can register. And I highly encourage you because, I'm going to send this, even if you can't attend, I'll send the link to the recording to you if you register. So I encourage you to register. That would be great. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And let's talk about it a little more. So data is going crazy. And what is the definition of big data? The definition of big data is basically bigger than you can handle in your head. When you start playing with 14 million customers, like the Hudson Bay we did in 1994, and 250 million transactions, 20 million transactions in a good month. If you've got that kind of data, you need something to make sense of it. And we've been doing it now for 25 years. modeling with transaction data. We were one of the very first. We were on the Borland website. Intel flew in to see how the heck we were doing it. No one understood it. Hudson Bay called 4 of our vendors. They all told them it was absolutely impossible to do what we claimed. Intel flew in to see what we were up to. Microsoft hired us to see how they could benefit. Probably every other consultant you've ever talked to has the same kind of pedigree. No, not. And guess what? We've made massive progress since then. You're going to want to come and find out the secret that everyone's missing, which is why 87% of AI projects fail. Let's go on. Here's a great article about AI's future in marketing. What it basically says is that, things are spotty. Gary Marcus coined the term pointillistic intelligence in the next decade of AI. He says the computer intelligence is a kind of intelligence that works in many cases but fails in many other cases. 87% fail to even get to ROI. 87%. And I think in marketing it's higher. Okay, for example, they were working with the GPT2 next generation model developed by OpenAI. So if you think you can just go grab some open source AI tool and throw data at it, well, again, you want to come to the webinar. Oh, how do you register? You can go to wdma.org. I talk about it every day. wdma.org. The event is in the upper right. Just click on the event that says direct mail ain't dead, and it opens right up in the registration with some extra details. And in the registration, it gives you the link that I'm on live right now. We're going to be running it on the Periscope that I'm running on right now, so it's easy to find if you're watching live. Okay, so here's what they were letting the GPT-2, say that fast, complete the sentence. If you break a glass bottle that holds toy soldiers, the toy soldiers will probably follow you in there. And that's the kind of gibberish the thing would cook up, right? Even with massive amounts of data, and what you'll find out tomorrow is more data makes it harder, not easier. That's why you have to be so careful. You have to use a proven structure. New architectures and the knowledge gathered by contemporary neural net remains spotty and pointillistic. Okay? So what's the right way to approach this? Narrow AI is the tool. Makes sense. It's very good at solving. AI may not be robust enough to reason with a customer, but it's very good at solving well-defined problems. The big question about AI-powered marketing future is how best to apply it. And that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Case studies that apply the machine learning very well, very carefully, and massively profitable. I'm not saying you won't beat what we do in the future. But right now, I'm pretty confident that I can guarantee I'll beat what you do right now. We're going to talk about that. It's an unbeatable offer to get started in machine learning and to understand how to apply it. Don't reinvent the wheel. I remember when we used to write word processing programs. Nobody does that anymore. We used to write our own order processing programs. Nobody does that anymore. And now they're trying to write AI programs and machine learning. Don't do it. There's too many things going on. Use a proven system with someone who knows how to pilot it. There's enough crazy that's in your own data. Let's focus on that and solving it and making money. Okay, so how best to apply it? Adding AI to your marketing stack makes sense only when you have a specific problem that AI is well suited and well proven at solving. Finding just the right way to apply AI to the problem at hand is key. That's what we're offering. We're offering you a way to start that makes money. We guarantee AI 90 days. I know that sounds too crazy. And Stephen Yu has a great article. It says, the models are built, but the job isn't done yet. Boy, is that ever true. modeling becomes a necessity in a data-rich environment. We just went over that, and he's got a really good article called Why Model. The history of modeling goes back, or the history of model-based targeting goes back to the 1960s, probably RFM, if you know what that is. If you don't, go to e-rfm.com. Lots of good information. It's, it's retro, but it's clear. But today we have too much information, okay? Most of us mortals can only handle 2 or 3 variables at a time. In fact, the tool I use, most modelers say, oh, how do you handle 7 layers with hundreds of variables in your head? Well, I had a brain injury as a child. I think that probably helps. Anyway, sometimes campaign segments selected by models show worse response rates than randomly selected test groups. And so everybody says the model didn't work. I actually had that happen once with Horse and Rider magazine. It was a prospect model, and we put a fairly novel variable as the most significant one in the top. The other variables kind of worked later when we looked at the results. But that first one was opposite of what we expected. We've learned a lot since then. Holy smokes. That was about, I would guess, 2005, 2007, something like that. Yeah. Mistakes are the way to learn. You don't want to pay for all your IT department's mistakes right now when you can hire somebody who's already made enough of them to get you past them. Okay, mishap number 1, the model is applied to the wrong universe. Defining a proper comparison universe is as important as the mathematical expression. Okay, like you use the wrong mailed file, you use the wrong season, you have the wrong validation where you're aiming at a different data set than you meant to. I did that just the other day. I said, hey, this thing looks terrible. What's wrong with it? The IT guy says, you're aiming it at the wrong client. It was all, that's a clue to me to mean something's wrong. One of the great things about our system is it's got lots of checks and balances and things to reveal the broken, and you don't have to see them. And I usually do this late at night, and I'm not going to tell you, but it's, we're breaking plates to make perfection in China. Okay, wrong validation, wrong client, or cherry picking. Like the client in their mailing, they mailed some older names, let's say 36 to 48 month old names, haven't bought in 3 or 4 years. And they matched those names up against some catalog database that tells the new people who have just bought from another catalog, not ours, but some other one. And they pick all those people. And guess what? They do really well. But all we know, because we don't get to see what they did last year, because maybe it's a new client, we see that it did really well, unexpectedly so. That's when we know they've done some cherry picking. I can't get into all of these things. I can just tell you there's a lot of them. What if the rules defining the model universe are even slightly different from the actual campaign universe? For example, you take a generic model and you apply it to Bass Pro, or you apply it to Cabela's. You know that those two have at least they did when we were working on them. When we were working for In Fisherman, we actually did 2 models, one for Bass Pro and one for Cabela's, because it turned out they were quite different, and they both worked, and they were both different. I remember when we started working with Cabela's, we said they wanted a quote from a bunch of other vendors, and the quotes went out, and we said, you need 12 models per year. You need a new model for every major title around the seasons. They said, okay. So I said, get quotes on 12 models per year. And all the biggest modeling companies at the time, and I could name them still, said, you don't need 12 models. 1 model's good enough. Right, like the hunters and the fishermen are just exactly the same. Yeah, well, maybe they are if you don't put many variables in, or you've never noticed the difference. The hunters in Manhattan are going on a safari. They are multimillionaires, and they have no limit in their spending. The fishermen in Pewaukee, Wisconsin are blue collar. They got an aluminum boat on a trailer in their backyard, and they're fishing. Totally different. Anyway, we pioneered the idea of not of building models, but of a machine, of a system of machine learning that builds models so that we could build them fast enough for every different audience, for every different season, for different offers. So with Musician's Friend, we would have in the same month, in the same drop, we would have versioning with different covers, and we would have a drum model, we'd have a DJ model, and we'd have a general guitar model. Or maybe we'd have an acoustic model. Or maybe we would have, we had lots of these things, okay? Or we had a business-to-business model. We had all those nested together. Did it make money? Probably not. It wasn't worth the trouble. But I can tell you that too. And they were dropping about $500,000 a month. So if you're dropping that many, it might be worth it. It's tough to say. We could profile the drummers and the guitar players and see they were different, but that doesn't mean that we could convince the drummer. When we'd mail the drummers a drum catalog, they'd buy guitars. When we mail the guitar players a guitar catalog, they'd buy some bongos or something. It was so, people are odd. You think this is easy? It's not easy. Okay, the model used is outside the design specification. So we're using it for something not designed to do. Let's do a sale offer that we just use the drum model for. We built special sale models for Musician Friend. That did work. That worked really well. We found customers that just never bought on sale items. We don't want to mail them a sale catalog. We don't want to diminish our margin. Why would we? But we found lots of customers that only bought on sale items. Send them the sale book. Send them back through time. We can go deeper and farther into the old names. And I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, but all of this stuff makes money. 12 times a year. Scoring errors. Oh, yes. Well, yes. When we built the Hudson Bay models or database, they called up and they said, your database is totally wrong. There's a customer in here that's worth $92,000. Well, we could look up the transactions. It turned out they had charged the guy $92,000 for a pair of jeans out in Manitoba or somewhere. And they couldn't look it up because they didn't keep the transactions, whereas we did. And Ernie Shell, bless his heart, said, I would have returned those jeans. Anyway, the data, you can have fundamental errors stemming from the database structure itself. Or your IT department or your order processing department can start using a field for something totally different. More data systems, or more business systems, rather. We did a database for them. They told us all of our customer numbers are alphanumeric. All of a sudden the machine was blowing up when we loaded in the data, and it turned out there were some, all the customer IDs were numeric. Turned out they weren't. We asked around. We asked the IT department. They didn't know. Turned out the alpha codes were from the credit department or from the finance department. When they got a check in and they didn't know what customer it belonged to, they would put it in an account and create a fictitious account number and begin with an A, just because they could, because they weren't entering orders. They were manipulating things in the customer support area. Customer support can do all kinds of mischief because they don't have the edit checks. Customers are always changing database structures on us without telling us. Variable list names. Just the other day, there were 3 customer IDs for a client. 3. One from an old system, one from a new system, and one from a database that was just created by another vendor. We thought the other database would be the one that would be the most compatible with what we were looking for. It turned out, then we tried the old one, then we tried the new one. Finally, the third one, we got it to work. But what if someone changed the grouping definitions? Yeah, that happens a lot. Just changing the way you calculate variables. So we've learned is just, there's a lot of ways to calculate the same variable. Put them all in. Why not? What the heck? Input, yeah. Oh, if I had a nickel for every August 32nd or other illegal calendar entry. Okay? But missing data can be equally valuable. Sometimes the new zips do better, where we don't have zip code data applied since the last census. They can do dramatically better. Tells us it's a growth area. It's emerging. That's why they created a new zip code. So sometimes, for some products, for some clients, we'll specially target those. Fascinating. That's what the machine learning tells us, stuff like that. Okay, the data shifts. We'll just go, there's just so many mishaps. There's so many errors. So not all modelers are equally competent. Let's highlight that. Not all modelers have 25 years of thousands of models and putting them in the mail. Machine learning is only as good as the analyst who set it up and continues to pay attention to it. After years of such detective work, my bet is firmly on errors outside of the modeling process. But you know what? You still have to find them. And you have to know where to look. So join me tomorrow. Direct mail ain't dead. We're going to talk about machine learning, AI. WDMA.org to register. I highly encourage you to go there and register today. I'm John Miglosh. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. Have a great day. Bye-bye.